complain about the colonial past, history, independence, but whatever it is. Immediately post-independence, there has been a massive migration-related conflict, killings, and then the Indus, and continuously going on the Kashmir issue. The crux of the problem is Kashmir, but of course this is, that we all know. But there is a huge lack of trust between these two countries, India and Pakistan, for anything. But also we need to realize that these two countries are sharing a river on an agreement on this Indus River for more than 52 years now. They have fought 4 wars, 3 wars that time. The 99 war, I'm counting another war. So the 3 wars they have fought. They have gone on to different type of tensions, all kinds of issues. In spite of everything, they are continuing this 1960 agreement till now. But this is something, we need to realize that why this agreement has worked, or what is there, why this agreement was made, and how this has worked. Of course, when the World Bank came in 1960, or before, 1940s, so Eugene Black was the World Bank president. He sent his friend to look at it, and then the things come up in an article, and then World Bank got interested. It's of course Indus is one of the major success stories of that part of the time of the World Bank, and World Bank tried to do that in the Nile recently in another river basin. So World Bank was involved, and the India and Pakistan that time didn't have the resources to do their own constructions in that on that river system. So they went on and got an agreement. But that agreement was signed in the 1960s, and the agreement was not a water agreement. It was an extension of a 1947 agreement, means a partition agreement. It's a 6 rivers, 3 west side, goes to, it's like, Punjabi Muslims go to the Pakistan side, Punjabi Sikhs and Hindus go to the Indian side. So it's a 3 Pakistani flowing, the western flowing rivers go to that side, and 3 eastern flowing rivers go to Indian side. That was the easy partition system. So that's where both the India and Pakistan agreed, and the agreement is still working on that. The 3 rivers, which goes on to the Ravi, Bias, Satluj, the eastern flowing river, that has, of course, been mostly used by India. This doesn't go through the Kashmir side. If you are looking at the Kashmir side, it doesn't go into the Kashmir. It's either Himachal or Punjab side. It moves into the Indian. Or there is a bigger problem going on within India of how to share the eastern side of the river. That's between Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, which previous speakers mentioned, and even Delhi. And even the idea is to getting it to Gujarat. So there is a lots of idea going on out there, and also the interlinking river projects in India, which will be a major crisis in India, politically as well as economically and environmentally. Forget about that. So that's one part of the story. The other part of the story, that the 3 western flowing rivers, which have gone to Pakistan side, that also creates a number of conflicts within Pakistan. And the Pakistani, the different provinces do have problems within how to share this water. But the question comes, the conflict which goes on between India and Pakistan, how to share this. And they have been, since 1960, they have been following the agreement. When the 1965 war took place, India at that time even paying money to Pakistan, because they were supposed to pay 60 million pounds or something. So they were fighting the war, and India at that same time paying money. I still remember 2002, when there were 500,000 Indian troops were stationed close to Pakistan because of the attack on the parliament. That's I don't know. Recently something has happened. Let's forget about that. But when the Indian troops were standing very close to the Pakistan, there was, I think I was in a group in a South Asian group. We were discussing in the UN University in Tokyo. We are all waiting whether the Pakistani Water Commission, the Indus Water Commission, will come to India or not, because there was no flight coming. And if, according to the agreement, if the commission, they don't meet before June, 1st of June. Then the agreement is allowed. They have to meet at least once. That is important. So we were all thinking, oh, maybe Bajpayee government won't allow it. But the poor commissioner went to Dubai, then flew back to India, and that was allowed. So in spite of the 500,000 troops stationed there, Indian government allowed the Speaker to continue the agreement. But we can come back to this, why this agreement is working. But look at this. In spite of when the agreement is working, but the India and Pakistan are fighting all the time over how this agreement is working. The three major ones, Ullar Barrage, which is an issue for the navigations. If you don't know, the Ullar Lake is quite very close to the quite sensitive area in the Indian side of the Kashmir. Even the Indian naval troops are, guarding that Indian Navy in the Kashmir. So you can imagine, naval commandos in Kashmir. So when I first saw them, I was very surprised what the naval commandos are doing in Kashmir. And but they are actually for that lake. But that lake, there is a barrage which is being discussed. Pakistan opposed it. It has been going on from the last since 1980. But now there is some associated work is going on. Recently, a few months back, there has been local militants have some problems with that, and then some attacks. So that has been stopped, or is going again, starting again. But that's an indirect conflict which is going on. Then we were talking about the other ones, so which were like Baglihar. Baglihar one was, this is an hydroelectric project, and that is, as per the agreement, those three rivers which have been given to Indian side, the three western rivers which are given to Pakistan side, the Indians are allowed to do some sorts of hydropower development. I'm putting it in a very layman's term here, but not blocking the water too much. So there is a certain restrictions out there, and the Indians, to be honest, they cannot take the water from that three western flowing rivers to India. Well, how they will take? Will take in the helicopter and put it in the Punjab? I don't think so. And there is some sort of plan which is, you use the nuclear energy to blast the mountains, create the tunnel and take it. This sounds like Chinese planning, but I won't think it will work in Indian context. So the water will be there. What to do? What India is going to do with that water? Not flood its own, that area. The water will certainly come back to Pakistan. There's no way water is going to stay there, because they can't do anything. They cannot drink that much of water. There are not so many people. Of course, increasing that population, but they won't. So what will happen to this? So why India and Pakistan cannot really get into this? That look, the water can come in any way, because India cannot take it. So, and you can actually work on it, how to put this water. Because if you look at this Baglihar project, and if you look at the recent one, this which was that the Kishan Ganga one, and if you look at the Kishan Ganga, there's an interim verdict which has also went in favor of India. But if you read Dawn and you read Times of India, you see two different pictures, how they're interpreting it.
Both of them are one.
Yeah, I think it's some way, it's a nice way, people feel happy. But actually, the interpretation is that there is a temporary order which has come in, and of course they need some certain flow to continue when the permanent order will come in October this year. The question is, Indians are going for the electric hydropower productions, that's for sure. But the Pakistan is always trying to see there is a design behind it. And why that is taking place? What is that design and where that comes from? The question comes here because a huge lack of trust between these two countries. I think as the previous speaker was mentioning, that the dams might be used for strategic purposes. So why not to, because the dams can be also used for so many beneficial purposes, Because if you look at the dams, if the dams can be built in that part of where the India is building the dams, or the Indian side of the Kashmir, or Indian administered Kashmir, whatever the way you want to say, then it's the best location possible. There is a less evaporation will take place. That will also support the lower dams which are built in Pakistan, because it will stop the silt coming down and desilting or the silting the dams below. But we don't talk about that. India and Pakistan, they don't talk about this issue. What are the positive ways we can use that dam to develop a cooperations together? It's just, it goes back to this lack of trust. The agreement is still working. Agreement will work because it's not any positive part of it, it's the negative part of it. Because Indians actually do not have a, because it's a geographic stops them to use that water, but anyway, so they don't see a big gain of water coming into this, going beyond this agreement. The other one is, it's also very much, it's a very sensitive area. And you don't build the dams inside a tunnel, you build a dam openly. And it can be, it's open to all kinds of things. And that area is open to all kinds of things. So you don't really, there is a strategic military reasons involved that you don't really build dams openly and create a fight. So it's a huge selfless interest which is involved, and negative attitude, which is continuing that Indus agreement. But that Indus agreement is already 52 years old and doesn't take into the new realities into account. And that's why I think we need to move beyond. Leaders of countries, they need to come together, try to see if there is an agreement which can be brought in, which will be, I'm not saying that 1960 agreement was bad. 1960 agreement was good in 1960. But in the 21st century, you need to find an agreement where you find a joint non-political use of Indus River and its, Indus and its other tributary rivers. Otherwise, the demand is so much. The requirement is that you need to go beyond out-of-box thinking and look at this. And of course, if you look at the Kashmir, the way the rivers are going, we are talking about this hydropower. India is producing hydropower, not giving to Kashmir, then sending it to the mainland. There's nothing wrong with the agreement actually, because then it's wrong with India not giving the hydropower. But the thing is, but that is not the issue. The issue is that there is not enough hydropower for the demand. The increasing demand which is there, the hydropower has to be, but how to use this? How to bring into the demand of the Kashmiri population? Because the Kashmiri, Indian side of the Kashmir is absolutely, they are mad at this agreement. And there was a 2002, there was a near unanimous resolution in the Kashmiri Parliament, Kashmir's Parliamentary Assembly against this, and there is a political opinion against this agreement going. So I think it is what I would like to see, that the leaders of the two countries, they need to come out of that box. Don't look at 1960 agreement, but how to find a new way of sharing the river in a way which will be beneficial to the region, not to the political entity. How to make the best possible use of water. How to make the best possible water, not for your agricultural growth or industrial growth, but also for the ecology and environment of that area, of that region. And that will be a clear, not only a good thing for the water cooperation, but it might generate other added incentives, other benefits, which will be building much more cooperative relationship between India and Pakistan. Because that is once they start learning of working together on a shared natural resources, they will know how to work together. They are not working together now for any way. Unless, there is always this issue which is, unless you have to give that a chance, I think we need to move beyond the 1960 agreement and look for a new agreement on the industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Swain. Of course, something new I learned, it's a partition agreement, not a water agreement. I think it will remain in my mind for a long time. Now, from the experts on India-Pakistan water